Communication Workers of America, Alliance for American Manufacturing, Bio Green Clean, and the iSafe team bring you this production. Well, is it going to be New York City next? The other day, ISIS was saying that for sure Washington is going to get hit. Now there's a new video released by ISIS saying that there is an impending attack on New York City. Mayor Bill de Blasio responded to it last night at Times Square.
A video was released earlier today by ISIS portraying scenes of New York City, portraying scenes of Times Square, where we are now, and Herald Square, in an obvious attempt to intimidate the people of New York City. I'm here this evening with Commissioner Bratton and other leaders of our police department and the men and women of our department who patrol Times Square to make very, very clear that the people of New York City will not be intimidated. We understand it is the goal of terrorists to intimidate and disrupt our democratic society. We will not submit to their wishes. The people of New York City, as you can see right now, are going about their business even at this late hour.
And the mayor of New York City went on to talk about the character and the response of the New Yorkers.
It's important to note that there is no credible and specific threat against New York City. NYPD has been working very, very closely with the FBI and our other federal partners, and I again repeat, there is no specific and credible threat against New York City.
Joining us now is Congressman Eric Swalwell. He is a member of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, good to have you with us.
Morning, Ed. Thanks for having me on the show. First time.
You bet. Good to have you with us. Being on the Intel Committee, I think most Americans think, gosh, you guys are just being deluged with all kinds of information, that it's just briefing after briefing. What's changed for the Intel committees, if anything?
Certainly the volume of ISIS success has gone up in just the 3 weeks, with taking down an airliner, pulling off a just horrible attack in Beirut, and what we've seen in Paris. And now they are certainly benefiting from the fear that they want to instill in Americans. And you know, they're also starting to be more specific about the homeland here. They've, identified New York and Washington as targets, and so we should not discount their ability to carry out an attack like that. But we also should, not be intimidated, and ISIS should not discount our resolve to scrub them from this earth, find them, and disrupt any attacks they may want to pull off.
It's been documented just how primitive the bomb was and how simplistic the bomb was that took down the Russian airliner and killed those civilians over Sinai. What does that do as far as our security forces and intel are concerned, and how we function as a traveling society?
They're still looking at how that bomb got on the plane, and if the one that was put out by ISIS is in fact the one that took down the plane, it suggests strongly that somebody on the inside put it on the plane, which should concern us. We back in the Bay Area a couple months ago, we have an airport where baggage handlers were moving just hundreds of pounds of drugs around the country that were going into the airport and weren't being screened. And I was concerned then that employees at airports are not 100% screened. So I think we can actually take some smart procedures on our own without disrupting the flow of travel that could, prevent something like this from happening here, the inside job, so to speak.
Congressman, how are we going to screen everything? I mean, obviously the TSA is on high alert. We see what's happening in airports, but what's happening behind the scenes with the baggage screening and all of that? Are we beefing that up, and what can we do?
We do a lot already to screen the bags that get on the plane, but I'm concerned about an inside job. And so I think starting to look at who has access to the plane, the people who clean the plane, people that put food onto the plane, the people that handle the mechanical equipment to test and make sure the plane's okay. We need to ensure that anyone who touches the plane, I believe, is 100% screened. That doesn't happen today. And we're a long ways from that happening. And I think we need to start, in light of what happened in Russia and other airline incidents, we need to step that up.
Your thoughts on the legislation that's going to be voted on today dealing with the Syrian and now Iraqi refugees attempting to come into the United States?
Security is our top priority. It's our first responsibility as members of Congress. However, being compassionate and not being driven by fear, I think, is also something we have to do. And we have a process in place since we started taking refugees from Vietnam that has overseas screening first by the United Nations, and then a process where once they go through all of that vetting, we start to vet them through the Homeland Security Department, cooperation with the FBI and the Department of State. On average,
Congressman, you sitting on the House Intelligence Committee, how confident are you, or do you believe that the Russians, in cooperation with us, would be able to start a game changer, so to speak, on sharing information? Do you think we'll get to that level? Obviously, we're working with the French, but this is new territory with the Russians, isn't it?
We have to. And, we've had cooperation with the Russians, over the past 100 years when we haven't always seen eye to eye, whether it was, World War II or, other conflicts that have required cooperation. But this issue of ISIS is bigger than any issue between us and Russia. And I actually think the president would be served well to show American leadership. Let's have a summit and get all of the interested countries together and put out, a long-term vision on how we're going to do this, and also requirements for Middle East countries and what they have to do to step up and do a lot more to get ISIS from this earth.
Your constituents in California, do you think that they would support this legislation that is going to, do some cleansing? I think is what I call it, religious cleansing. Some may call it security. How do you think your constituents are responding to this?
The people at home are rightfully scared about whether we could be attacked here, but they also know that we do a lot to protect the refugees who come here, and they want us to show compassion. They don't want religious litmus tests. They don't want us to turn a shoulder to the rest of the world while the rest of the world deals with this refugee crisis. Ed, I have in my office my chief of staff was a 4-year-old who fled Vietnam, came over here on a boat and talked to me about how his mother handed him over to his uncle, not knowing if she would ever see him again. That's what these refugees go through, the uncertainty of fleeing their country. They're not doing this willingly. This is their last choice. This is survival mode. And, we've always been a country that's taken them on. We can do it in a way that's smart for our security, but also compassionate as to who we are and what our values mean.
Congressman Eric Swalwell, great to have you with us. He sits on the House Intelligence Committee. Appreciate your time. Thanks so much.